So the human soul is the thing God created. So your two bodies, your mum and dad created. So when we talk about incarnation, just for those of you that may not know, the soul is split into two halves at the point of incarnation. There's a spirit body and a material body. Got to get my gender right as well. Alright, so if the soul has masculine and feminine qualities. If the soul is dominantly masculine as a whole soul, then the two halves will be male. If the soul is dominantly feminine as a whole soul, then the two halves will be female. If the soul is a mixture of masculine and feminine, then one part of the soul will be dominantly masculine and the other part of the soul will be dominantly feminine. Right? So I'm assuming here that we've got a dominantly masculine, not a dominantly masculine or a dominantly feminine, but about 92% of souls are what you would classify as heterosexual in nature, and they don't have a dominant masculinity or femininity. They are more centrally organised, and so half of the soul will be female, half of the soul will be male. The male attracts bodies with the right chromosome to match the male personality, and the masculinity, expression of masculinity, and the female attracts. When I say attracts, it's not a decision, it's an automatic instinctual thing that occurs. There's a physical body and a spirit body that's created at the time of conception. Alright, God created the soul. You could say mum and dad created the bodies through the sex act, right? Through conception. So, bearing that in mind, the main part of you is not these bodies. Can you see that? The main part of you is what God created, the soul. God created the soul, right? And God created the soul to be a thing that splits up, becomes aware of itself, and eventually merges back together again. The process of splitting up is called incarnation and individualization. The process of merging back together again, we called it union. Right. So that's the process of the human soul. The human soul is governed by all the other things we just mentioned. Truth, love, humility, faith. It's governed by law. It can sin. It can also not sin. It can be perfect. It can also not be perfect. It can make choices. It can also refuse to make choices. Right? The human soul is the real you. And every one of you is half of the real you. Half. The other half is out there somewhere.
Yeah, there's just two more things we really need to say about the human soul. You are gifted with free will. This is a part of God's gift to you at the point of incarnation. And most of our life on earth, God has designed for us to learn how to use that will in harmony with God's laws, or you could say in harmony with God's love. Now, another inherent part of the human soul is that it is emotional in nature. So that means we have an intellect, we have a mind, but the core essence of us is emotional. And actually the emotions drive or govern what we think about, what we choose to do. But most of us, through our incarnation process, unfortunately on earth today, have become kind of at odds with our emotional self, or detuned from our emotional self. And often pursue beliefs or ideas, even our academic education often detunes people from their emotional self. Different forms of spiritual beliefs say emotions are the problem, that you need to overcome them rather than experience them. But actually all of those things are out in disharmony with God's laws and how the soul was designed to operate.